Who's actually getting the most out of a counter-depth French door fridge, and who might be better off walking away? If you're wondering whether the KoolMore 22.5 cubic foot model is worth the price tag for everyday cooking, grocery runs, and the occasional party spread, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's dig into the real-world questions that come up when a kitchen remodel meets a budget that isn't unlimited. First off, the counter-depth claim sounds like a marketing buzzword, but it matters a lot when you're trying to keep a clean line between cabinets and appliances. This fridge actually sits flush with standard 24-inch cabinets, which means you won't end up with a massive bulge in the middle of your kitchen island. For anyone who's spent a weekend measuring and then realizing the unit they chose sticks out like a sore thumb, the KoolMore's dimensions feel intentional. That said, the trade-off is a slightly reduced interior volume compared to a full-depth model of the same external size. If you're a single professional who meals mostly out or a couple who buys groceries once a week, you'll likely appreciate the space-saving profile. If you regularly stock a large freezer section for bulk buys, holiday leftovers, or a growing family, you might start feeling that the 22.5 Cu.Ft feels a touch cramped after a while. The French door layout itself is pretty intuitive. The top two doors open wide enough to grab a milk jug without wrestling a shelf into place, and the bottom freezer drawer pulls out fully, which is a blessing when you're loading a tray of frozen veggies. The ice maker is a nice convenience, especially for homes that entertain or have kids who love a quick cube for drinks. I've seen people complain that ice makers can be noisy, and while the KoolMore isn't whisper quiet, the hum is comparable to a typical dishwasher cycle, nothing that dominates a conversation in the kitchen. If you need a separate water dispenser, however, you'll have to look elsewhere. This model sticks to ice only, which is fine for many households but could be a deal-breaker for those who want chilled water on tap. One of the more subtle strengths is the adjustable shelving system. The shelves slide in a few clicks and can be repositioned to accommodate tall items like party platters or a stack of baking sheets. In a real-world scenario, imagine you've just stocked up on a 6-pack of 2-liter soda for a backyard barbecue. The top shelf can be moved up a notch, giving you a dedicated zone for the drinks without crushing the groceries below. The same flexibility works for a large turkey during the holidays. You simply lower the lower shelves and the freezer drawer slides out enough to slide the bird in without having to chop it up first. That level of adaptability is something you only notice when you actually load the fridge, not when you skim a spec sheet. Temperature control is handled by a double-flow cooling system that promises even distribution. In practice, that means you're less likely to have a hot spot where a bottle of juice warms up while the rest of the fridge stays frosty. I've read owners mention that the vegetable crisper stays consistently crisp for a week after a grocery run, which is a practical win for anyone who buys produce in bulk and wants it to stay fresh. The downside is that the unit doesn't display a precise temperature readout. You only get a simple cool or cold indicator. If you're a wine enthusiast who wants exact degrees for optimal storage, you'll probably need an external thermometer or a more specialized wine fridge. Energy consumption is another area where the lack of hard data can be frustrating. The product description highlights precision temperature control, but there's no Energy Star rating listed. For households that are vigilant about utility bills, this uncertainty can be a red flag. On the flip side, many reviewers who have lived with the fridge for several months report that the electricity bill didn't jump dramatically after the switch. If you're not obsessively tracking every watt, the potential modest increase may be acceptable for the convenience it offers. Now let's talk about who should seriously consider this appliance. If you have a standard-sized kitchen, want a sleek stainless steel finish that blends with other appliances, and need a fridge that doesn't jut out into the traffic flow, the KoolMore checks those boxes. It's also a solid match for families of 3 to 4 who do weekly grocery trips, need an ice maker, and appreciate the flexibility of moving shelves around. The counter-depth design is especially appealing for open-concept spaces where visual continuity matters as much as functionality. Who might want to skip it? First, anyone whose priority is a massive freezer capacity, say, a household that buys meat in bulk or a hobbyist who freezes large batches of homemade meals. The 22.5 Cu.Ft space splits roughly 2/3 fridge, 1/3 freezer, and the ice maker takes a small slice of the freezer volume. Second, if you're looking for a water dispenser, built-in Wi-Fi temperature monitoring, or